Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on your current time zone. This is Bezkier here with another video on a how-to or guide. I don't really know. What would you deem it as? It's just mainly me talking shit for about 10 minutes or so I apologize in advance. Anyway, I digress. This is a video on how to get Nebula on your weapon within 2 games. And I've just done this myself using the cleaver. It does require a bit of experience with zombies, but if you're a confident player, I have no doubt you will be able to do this as well. So for the first game, where you're going to need to get the painstakingly 2,000 kills with the weapon, you're going to want to spawn in on a standard game of Liberty Falls, and then just kind of dedicate the most of your game, the 2,000 you're going to need for this camo. What I would say is that I do have these areas that I like to go to in order to basically get the melee kills without it being too much of a problem, and in order to get to one of those areas you're going to need to have PhD flopper augment that makes you slide faster, because you want to get on top of the bank without opening one of the doors, which you'll see later on in the video. That is the door at the top of the bank. So sliding off from the zip line, which is just to the right of spawn, and then sliding onto the roof and just kind of chilling up there to get kills when it goes to a higher round. I normally would recommend having a good weapon for using this as like a backup weapon to kill elites and manglers whilst you're getting those 2,000 kills. I'd also make a note as well of what the 2 special camos that are going to be needed after you get those 2,000 kills as well. Melee Macchiato is going to be quite an important perk to have for this because it increases your damage with your melee weapon, so that is a needs must. So get that when you can. You don't even necessarily need to pack punch the weapon. It's pretty solid even with Melee Macchiato up for a few rounds. Once you're kind of making your way up and getting the kills that you need for the 2,000, obviously the rounds are going to get harder. Manglers are going to spawn in, as are elites. So it's good to make sure that you have all 3 armor slots purchased when you can, because you're going for those melee weapons. And the way in which I find most effective if you are training zombies is to basically just kind of do a back and forth motion, like you're on a rocking chair, back and forth when you're kind of stabbing them so they don't overwhelm you. And that's why it's good to have Melee Macchiato, the 3 armor plates, and an upgraded weapon as well. It's going to take you a long time to be able to kind of get those 2,000 kills initially. I can't remember what wave it took me up until, but it was probably around the mid 30s to 40s that I actually managed to get the 2,000 kills. And it's just a case of surviving, really. You just got to kind of just survive, go through the rounds, get the melee kills, and once you've kind of got the melee kills that you need, you can then go on to the special camos that you need for that as well. So I would say that there's whatever strat you want to do is your choice. You're the player. You know what your play style is, so you're the best person to kind of think how best you'd want to do it. You can, in fact, do this all in directed mode, don't get me wrong, but it will just take a really long time, because even at wave 15, you're talking, I think it's about 44 zombies that will spawn in at wave 15. So if you were to do that on repeat, I'm just putting myself on the spot here with trying to do maths, but I don't even know. You can do the math. I'll let you figure out the math, okay? Because it's not my strong suit. Numbers scare me, you know? Anyway, it would take a long time to do it in direct mode. Whereas if you just punch it out, do it in one standard game mode, as long as you're confident and you don't fuck up too many times, you should be able to quite easily get up to the opal camo challenges. And that's why I would suggest doing it in standard mode, because it's all fine doing the 2,000 kills in directed mode. That'll be really easy. However, when it comes to directed mode, if you're at the cap of 15, only 1 mangler is going to spawn in every few rounds, which just will take you an abysmal amount of time to try and get 30 eliminations of manglers, which you'll need for the opal camos. That's why it's just doing it on standard mode, because when you're at those higher rounds, you're getting like 5 to 15 manglers spawn in. So it is going to be really useful, because they're really easy to kill even at those high rounds if you have a fully pack-a-punched weapon, and also at legendary rarity with Melee Macchiato. They don't really take many hits to go down. That way you can get, 5+ mangler kills per round, and then quickly get that opal out of the way. Once you've been able to actually do the opal as well, after you've managed to do the 2,000 kills, the 2 special camos, and the actual mystic gold, you can then I'd consider at that point probably actually quitting out or exfilling, whatever you want to do, because the last two camos realistically are best to do on the directed mode, which we will see later on in this video what the kind of strat is for those two videos. But I do manage to get Mystic Camo at the sacrifice of a self-revive, but you know, I would say it's a worthy sacrifice in that respect. So once you've got your opal camo, wonderful, that's great, that's kind of what you need. You know, at that point you've done all the necessary steps to be able to finish the standard game, and thus you will then need to switch over to director mode, where you can then complete the final stage of your challenge, which is to get 20 consecutive kills and also 10 elite kills. Now we move on to game number 2. This one you're going to want to do in director mode so that you can do the second to last challenge, which is to get 20 consecutive kills without getting hit once. Sounds easy enough on paper, but when you've got a melee, it's a bit of a bitch to do. So there's a couple of ways in which you can do this. I mean, ultimately, the way I did it was I just kind of went in director mode, just didn't leave the spawn area, so the zombies are really slow and you can one hit down them. The way to do it is just to let them swing at you and then take a stab. Swing, stab, repeat. You can use other things to help you out during this, such as the Idlewise Gobblegum or the Augment for Ether Shroud, where you can get in the shroud longer if you get melee kills. Once you've done that, you then move on to the next part of the step, which is the final one to get Nebula. That's to kill 10 elites. For this one, you're going to progress into the actual story mode of director mode of Liberty Falls. So, you know, go up, get melee macchiato, because you're going to want that if you're going to use the melee knife. You know, upgrade it a couple of times. I imagine you've managed to save a few pennies whilst at the spawn point. Trigger the kind of story to progress at this point. So going on here, sure you all know what to do anyway, but just to kind of recap and give you a little bit of insight, you get the groundskeeper, you get the key, you go to the shed, and then once you're at the shed you get the nice little handbrake, and then you get the water valve. And then I chose to buy a mangler cannon because it was just easier. You go blow open the shop doors, and then from there you obtain the wire, is it? Cord? Electrical wiring, right, yeah. So you go and collect the electrical wiring, go into the bowling alley, put the valve in, do the thing, which is really annoying, tedious and long. Then once you've done that, the next part of the wonder weapon will pop out. Then you grab that, go and then get it made up, and then once you've actually been able to make the weapon up, you're going to want to take that to the next part, which is where in the comic book store you grab one part, and then on top of the truck in the middle by speed cooler you grab another part from window, and then the final part in the church. Then you build the device, bring it over, and then you pop it down just in the courtyard of the graveyard. And then what will happen is after a short while, the elite will spawn in. Now, one of two elites are going to spawn in. You're going to have the one that I had, which is the Abomination Elite, which is the least favourite one, really, to do this particular challenge. It just takes longer. So you just kind of stick it out and you kill the elite. And then every time the round flips, you can restart it, because the whole point of this is that you kill them in the trap, which is just down the road. If you keep killing them over and over again, the round will flip, you can restart it and spawn in another elite. But don't worry if you get the Abomination first time round like I did. I just stuck it out and did it with the Abomination for the 10 elite kills, but you can continue with the story so that you can go down to the next elite and do the next portal, and that way it will spawn in a Mangler HVT, which are much easier to kill, especially with kind of like your melee weapons. They're pretty weak, and you can just do that instead if you don't want to deal with the Abomination. But I persisted, I got my 10 elite kills with the Abomination, and thus I got Nebula. And I managed to do that in 2 games. So that's how you do it in 2 games. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I do hope you get to enjoy your Nebula camo on whatever weapon you have unlocked it on. Thanks for watching, take care now, bye bye.